Hello students, we have explained the concept of Pareto optimality and its marginal conditions through the last one or two videos. As per the concept of Pareto optimality, a society will attain maximum social welfare when it is impossible to make one person better off without making another worse off. It shows that in order to increase the welfare of one person, it is quite necessary to decrease the welfare of some other else. In the real world, there are so many economic changes, social changes, which increases the welfare of a group of individuals and decreases the welfare of some others. Therefore, Pareto optimality was severely criticized by various modern economists due to the non-including of certain social changes which increases the welfare of some and decreases the welfare of some others. Besides, Pareto optimality was severely criticized on the basis of the lack of interpersonal comparison of utility. And later, new welfare economics emerged by incorporating such economic changes which make some individual better off and some other worse off. Here in this video, we are going to explain Kaldor-Hicks compensation principle, which is a part of new welfare economics. Let us begin the analysis with a review of Pareto optimality criterion using a utility possibility frontier. The concept of Pareto optimality can be explained with the help of this utility possibility frontier. In order to draw the utility possibility frontier, we have x-axis and y-axis, and in x-axis we have given A's utility and on y-axis we have shown B's utility. Here we are going to draw a utility possibility frontier which is concave to the point of origin. Here this u1 is the utility possibility frontier of two individuals A and B. As we move from u to u1, the welfare of A is on increase and that of B is on decrease. Here let us assume that there is an initial point of allocation, that is C. Here A is having certain amount of utility and B is also having certain amount of utility. Suppose through a reallocation, if the society moves to point E, that means if the society moves through CE line, welfare of A increases and that of welfare of B remains constant. In the same manner, suppose if we move from C to D, welfare of B increases and that of A remains constant. In both the cases, we can see that welfare of an individual increases without decreasing the welfare of other individual. Therefore, these changes can be supported as per the Pareto optimality criterion. Similarly, suppose we are identifying a point F. In case of F, the welfare of both the individuals A and B increases and therefore we can support it as per the Pareto optimality criterion. Here, the movement from C to D or to E or to F is an improvement in social welfare because it increases the welfare of at least one individual without affecting the welfare of other individual, without decreasing the welfare of other individual. But suppose if the economy is moving from C to point G or to point E, here suppose if the economy moves from C to G, it improves the welfare of individual B but decreases the welfare of individual A. In the same manner, if the economy moves from C to F, it improves the welfare of individual A but decreases the welfare of individual B. Therefore, this cannot be explained with the help of the Pareto optimality criterion. These types of social change was explained through compensation principle by economists like Kaldor, Hicks and Sitorsky. As the first, we are moving to the assumptions of this new welfare economics or compensation principle. First assumption is that an individual himself is the best judge of his own interest, and this interest is independent of the satisfaction of others. In other words, we can say that the welfare of the individual is to be determined by that individual itself. That means individual know very well what is good to him and what is bad to him as well. Besides, it is believed that the welfare of an individual is independent. Second assumption is that there is ordinal measurability of welfare or utility. Interpersonal comparison of utilities are not possible as per the compensation principle. Next assumption is the absence of externalities and constancy of taste and preference. The new welfare economics further assumes that the conditions of production, exchange and distribution are separate. There are having separate problems to each sessions, and that is to be addressed separately. Total welfare of the society depends upon the total level of production. Lastly, the change in distribution of income have no effect on social welfare. On the basis of these assumptions, Nicholas Kaldor and J.R. Hicks put forward a welfare criterion based on compensating payments. Their work was published in 1939. According to Kaldor, a change in economic organization or policy makes some people better off and some others worse off. There will be a net increase in social welfare when the gainers from this social change is able to compensate the losers and are still better off than before. To explain this concept, we are considering a particular situation. In that situation, there are two individuals. After a particular change, one individual is having certain increase in welfare and the other is having decrease in welfare. Suppose if the gainer who increased welfare is able to compensate the loser, that means he is giving certain amount of welfare to the other person, and after giving this compensation he is in still better off position. Therefore, if the condition is like that, there is an improvement in social welfare. A social change increases the welfare of some people and decreases the welfare of some other people, and here automatically there are gainers in utility and losers in utility, gainers in welfare and losers in welfare. If the gainers are able to compensate the losers and even after compensation they are having certain amount of utility left with, then we can say that there is an improvement in social welfare. This is the basic principle developed by Kaldor in case of compensation criteria. According to Baumol, Kaldor's criterion states that a change is an improvement if those who gain is able to evaluate their gains at a higher figure than the value which the losers set upon their losses. Suppose, for example, a particular factory is set up on a particular region. Definitely it increases the productivity of the economy, it increases the welfare of a particular group of individuals who are working there, but it decreases the welfare of the people who are near to the company. And automatically, if the company is able to compensate the losers, the welfare decreases, then it is an improvement in social welfare. It is better for the company to compensate the losers than closing down the company. If the company is closed, there will be no improvement in welfare, but if the company is working, definitely there is an increase in welfare of the society. And if the company is compensating the losers, then the problem can be solved. J.R. Hicks put forward his compensation criterion in a reverse order of Caldor criterion. According to J.R. Hicks, if an economic change makes some people better off and the others worse off, and if the losers cannot bribe the gainers not to make the given change, then there is an increase in the net welfare of the society from that economic change. According to Hicks, definitely there are losses to certain social change or economic change. These losses must be considered properly, and due to the influence of these losses of welfare, the policy must not be cancelled. This is the viewpoint of J.R. Hicks. Basically, Caldor viewed compensation principle from gainers' point of view, and J.R. Hicks viewed the compensation principle from losers' point of view. Basically, the concept put forward by Caldor and Hicks are same, even though they are suggested in different words. Here, once again, Caldor had formulated his criterion from the viewpoint of gainers, but J.R. Hicks formulated it from the viewpoint of losers. Now let us examine this concept by using a diagram that we have explained already. We have an x-axis and y-axis. On x-axis we are having A's utility, and on y-axis we are having B's utility. We have a utility possibility from here u1. There is an initial point C. The movement from C to E or C to F or C to D is an improvement in social welfare, but as per Pareto optimality we cannot explain the movement from C to G and C to F. Let us assume that due to the social change the economy moved from C to G. This change increases the welfare of individual B and decreases the welfare of individual A. Here individual B is the gainer and individual A is the loser. Here a compensation is to be given by individual B to individual A. If such a compensation is given, we can move the condition from point G to D, that is the movement from G to D happens, there is an improvement in the welfare of individual B and that of individual A remains constant. That can be incorporated as per the Pareto optimality principle itself. Suppose if there is a strong compensation from B to A and it is possible to move from G to F, then we can move from G to F, which increases the welfare of both the individuals. If the economy moves from G to F, it is possible to increase the welfare of A as well as that of B. Therefore, we can say that if it is possible to apply compensation, the movement from C to G also can be implemented, also can be supported because it increases social welfare only if through compensation it is possible to move from G to D or to F. According to Kaldor-Hicks criterion, it is not necessary to pay compensation to judge whether social welfare has increased or not. The only requirement is that the gainer should be potentially able to compensate the loser. Suppose A is the gainer, A should be able to compensate the loser. That's enough. It is not necessary to give this compensation. And as per Kaldor-Hicks compensation principle, it is said that if the economy move from C to G, the G will remain the ultimate point because after compensation, individual B will be able to move the economy from G to F. Therefore, it is not necessary to adopt the policy of compensation. It should be possible for individual, the gainer, to compensate the loser. That's enough for compensation principle. This is the compensation principle developed by Kaldor and Hicks. There are certain criticisms to this Kaldor-Hicks compensation criterion. First criticism is that it is assumed that marginal utility of money is same for all individuals. That may not be true. Second assumption is that Kaldor-Hicks criterion suggests potential compensation and not actual compensation. If no actual compensation is done, then we need to incorporate value judgment to measure the utility of individuals. Third criticism is that the gain or loss of different individuals is measured in terms of money. We are converting the value of money into utility. Therefore, measuring utility in terms of money and measuring the gain or loss in terms of money may not always hold good. The last criticism is that Kaldor-Hicks criterion ignores the existing distribution of income in the society. Suppose if there are rich people and poor people, and the rich always will be able to compensate the losers, in such a situation total welfare of the society will be severely affected. In such a situation, fixing the value of compensation will be very difficult. This is the compensation criteria of Kaldor and Hicks. Thank you.